Today, for the first time ever, I have a whole table full of them. With me now is Sharon Content, the founder and president of Children of Promise, which works with children whose parents are incarcerated. Carl Siciliano, the executive director of the Ali Forney Center, which offers support to homeless LGBT youth. Grace Brown, the founder of Project Unbreakable, an organization that works with survivors of sexual assault, and Liz Gaines, the executive director of the Osborne Association, which offers new opportunities to those who've been in the criminal justice system. It is so nice to have all of you here.
Pleasure.
We really wanted to kind of end the year by thinking about the sort of work that all of you are doing in communities. And Elizabeth, you are dealing in many ways with this same intractable system, our prison system, and you are in a space of where you're about to start doing some of this work, growing.
Well, and we actually did start a lot around the issue of how mass incarceration affects families. More families have been separated by incarceration than at any time since the end of slavery. And prison populations are starting to come down, but kids are still affected. And so we work with whole families. We work with about 8,000 kids and family members and people coming out of prison a year. And I think you do need the small, hands-on, and the large. There's a lot of interest now in thinking about alternatives to jail and prison. Families are important.
But how do you draw attention to saying, hey, woo, over here, we're going to need some resources to help make this ongoing problem and to address it?
Well, and particularly when, you know, the folks that we serve are not on anybody's popularity list.
Right.
And, you know, you pointed out how many, with gun violence and mental health, prisons are now the largest providers of mental health services anywhere. The men that we have coming out of prison feel very strongly they're raising money for gun buybacks because they feel like they're coming home to communities, they planted the landmines, they want to go and find them and pick them out, and instead of our seeing them as assets to the community who could actually pitch in on issues like gun violence, we isolate them and stigmatize them and say they're bad. So the challenge of, you know, I'd rather be raising money and resources for puppies and children, but I got what I got.
Yeah, I like puppies and children.
It's charity season. It makes us feel good to give.
1, 2, 3, 4!
That's why big stars do a concert to help storm victims.
You got me right now, hey, hey.
This does help people, but I bet greedy businesses trying to make more help people even more. Ted Turner didn't like that idea.
What are you just beating on me about? You're just another. This is why people don't like newsmen. There's nothing more to say. Goodbye. I'm walking off the set.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Now there are new ways to give to charity.
The last piece of the puzzle is going to be you.
So where should you give? That's our show tonight.
And now, John Stossel.
Howard Husek studies philanthropy at the Manhattan Institute. Melissa Berman has helped give away $3 billion as head of Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. David Conliffe runs a nonprofit that uses the profit motive to try to help jailed teenagers go straight. So, David, the profit motive, what's this new form of charity?
Well, let's be clear, it's not simply the profit motive. We also happily accept donations. However, saying that, Goldman Sachs has issued the nation's first social impact bond, and we're the lead recipient on that social impact bond, and proud to be so.
A social impact bond. This means that Goldman Sachs puts up $10 million.
Correct.
And says, we think your group can help young convicts not become repeaters.
The social impact bond's effort is to say, let's take people who know how to bear risk, how to test effectiveness, like
Goldman Sachs.
They can look at the model. They can look at what's being presented carefully. And if it works, Goldman gets money back with a return. And if it doesn't, they lose it. They lose a significant portion of it.
So they've looked at your group, and they think you can help these kids. And if it works, as defined by some measure the mayor makes, I guess, they'll pay you back, pay Goldman back plus 25%?
Well, the measure is whether these kids go back to jail.
But how do you know it's going to work? At least, Goldman Sachs is putting up their own money. They're betting on him. I don't know, David, I don't know why. You're going to give him yoga and meditation, art and music therapy? This sounds like nonsense.
Well, if you think of the people up in Connecticut, Newtown, they've had kids who've been through trauma. They're going to want to get help for those kids, cognitive behavioral therapy, it could be a range of things. That's essentially what we're talking about. It's remarkable what can be done. This is something
Why does Goldman
MRT.
bet $10 million that this will work?
Because we're not the ones saying it's going to work, because there have been a lot of studies on this specific intervention that says it works well with this specific 16 to 18-year-old population who are now being treated as adults in an adult jail. In addition to things like Charity Navigator, there is you just made the point. They just look at the budget. There is now a group that looks at the impact.
Social Impact Exchange.
And it's called the Social Impact 100. And it looks to try to look at education, health, youth, a whole bunch of different things, poverty, and tries to find the best organizations. And it's on the web. People
You're mentioning this because your group is on their list.
Well, we're proud to have been selected, but it was not easy to go through it. You had to be nominated. You couldn't apply. They then had independent groups of experts evaluate it and look at the results.